Hey guys, I'm Fish here, and today I'm going to be revealing X's semi-final trick. So there's different parts to this trick, and what I'm going to start off is with the ant and deck part. But I just want to quickly say a disclaimer that this actually doesn't have any proof behind it to show that this is real. This is just basically a theory. At the start, X actually goes over to deck, and you can see he actually taps deck on the back of his shoulder. Then remember this for later, then he touches him on his nose and his head, and he also does the same with Ant on his nose and his head without touching him on his shoulder at the back. And then he says, if you felt a touch on your nose, raise your right hand, which they both raised their right hand. And then he said, if you felt a touch on your head, raise your right hand, and then they both raised their right hand. Then what happens, because X's trick actually has them talking in the background, obviously they're not actually talking in the actual audition, they're talking through audio. So what actually happens is, without Deck actually knowing, X goes over to Ant and touches him on his shoulder very quickly. You can see he kind of not rushes over, but he does it quite quickly, he doesn't do it slowly. And then when he says, if you felt a touch on your shoulder, sit down and open your eyes. They both obviously do that because Deck thought that they were talking about the first part where he got touched on the nose, the head, and obviously the shoulder. So that's kind of how it works. Basically, X just taps Deck on the back of his shoulder without anyone seeing. And you can also notice that X doesn't actually say if you felt a touch on the front of your shoulder. They don't actually say that, they literally just say if you felt a touch on your shoulder. So it could have been on the back, it could have been on the front, so that's why he only said that, not being very specific. And then the next part, X actually gives Ant a piece of foil and Deck a lighter. So what he says is, Deck, try and make the heat basically go through the air into the foil. And what you can actually see is X sneakily goes behind Ant's back and takes out something from behind his back and then places it in the foil and folds it up and then puts it in the foil without anyone actually noticing. Because you can see, look, he goes behind his back without needing to. They could have just had their hand behind their own back. And then obviously they quickly plant something in the foil which can produce heat. It could be anything, they could have done literally anything. They could have put anything in that foil, so I'm not going to go into too much detail of what they actually did put in there. Then they quickly place it in Ant's hand, and then that's kind of how it works. And then they say the heat has travelled through the air and into his hand with the foil in it. So that's kind of how that part works. They sneakily put something in the foil which basically makes it heats up. And then what happens is X then gets this electronic sort of weapon, and I'm not too sure what this actually is, but obviously it has some electric charges in it. And then X actually goes over to Ant and then zaps Ant, and then obviously Deck feels it as well. But the thing is, what actually happens here is, without you seeing, X presses a button or something like that, and then suddenly Deck's chair actually has a shock in the seating area. So I've actually found it online, and the functions, I'm literally reading this from what it says. It says a touch on the right hand side, a touch on the left hand side, a vibrating system, and electric shocker in the seat area. So literally this is basically proof. This is the only part of proof I have to show that this is basically how it's done. So what happens is, as X shocks Ant, they quickly press a button, and then Deck obviously gets an electric charge in his seat. And that's just kind of how it works. You can kind of understand what I'm saying. And then right at the start of the trick, X actually gets someone to write down any word from the screen, and obviously there's tons of different words. So the word he actually wrote down is hope, and I'm going to get on to that word in a bit. So then Simon basically writes down the word on this piece of paper, and then X gets him to close his eyes. And then X gets Amanda to go onto their Instagram. And a lot of you may not know this, but Instagram actually has an archive section. So basically an archive section is where you can save photos and basically keep them private without anyone seeing them, and then whenever you want to make them go live and basically post them, you can unarchive them. And then they get Amanda to scroll down all the way to the first ever photo X actually posted on their Instagram page. And obviously it was Simon with a thumbs up and smiling, and in the background was X holding up a word, and obviously the word hope, and that is obviously the word that Simon chose. So basically, like I said, there is an archive section. And if you don't know what archive is, it's basically like a it's like a safe in real life. It's like where you can store stuff without having it to the public at all, and then whenever you take it out, the public can see it. But then what happens is, when Simon writes down his word, it's obviously right at the start of the trick here, and basically, there's different ways this could have been done. There's one way where the people backstage saw what Simon wrote from somehow maybe a camera above him, or also the paper that he wrote on could have transmitted to something. There's any way you can think of that could be a way. So someone backstage, they saw the word that he wrote. Basically, what X did before this trick, all of the words on the board, he basically got a photo of Simon and edited himself into the background of Simon, holding up every single one of those words basically on a piece of cardboard, and then archived all of them. And then as soon as the people from backstage actually knew what Simon's word was, they unarchived that exact photo which had X holding up hope, and then that's how it kind of works out from there. So there has to be some backstage people involved in this. That may not be true. If you don't agree with me, don't just dislike, tell me what you think as well, because I really want to know what you guys think, because this is just the one thing I could literally think of, because there's not many other ways this psychic X could have actually done this. So yeah guys, that's basically my reveal for today. If you enjoyed it, make sure to smash a like down below. Hopefully you enjoyed my reveal. There's going to be more reveals on the final of Britain's Got Talent. So yeah guys, I shall see you in my next video.